There we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the pixeLobby podcast. I am your host, Brian Mundy, and I want to thank you so much for listening, tuning in, subscribing to our show. We have a very special show today, and with us today, part of our pixeLobby crew, I have Jose Ramirez. Jesus Ramirez. See, I do
There
it
you
every
go.
time.
Thank you. Yeah, you have to get it right.
But I do it on purpose now. I do it on
No, yes. You do it out of love.
I do.
Yeah. Anyway, hello.
Hi there, how's it going? And
I'm
our
doing well.
special, and see now here's where the name I'm really going to struggle, not yours. Our special guest is Erica Thornest.
Thorness, there you go.
Oh, I did it. See, thank you
Just
very much.
like the Loch Ness Monster, but with a Thor instead.
Oh, so tell us, Erica, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I live in San Diego, California. I have 3 children and a husband who plays an awful lot of golf, and and I am a photographer. I started out just as many people did, getting into the first darkroom I possibly could get into in 6th grade, and fully manual, black and white, developed my own rolls. Did that throughout middle school and high school, and then in college I worked as the photo editor for my school paper. So just on the start of starting digital, and we would still develop all the film in black and white, and then we'd use a slide scanner and bring them into Photoshop and make adjustments and things like that for publication. So after I thought long and hard about it, back then I was a much better editor than I was a photographer. I could capture and I could see what images would tell a story, and I thought about becoming a photo editor as a profession, and I just kind of looked at the hours and the pay, and I just decided that wasn't the path I wanted to take. So I actually took a 10-year break from photography and came back to it again about 5 years ago, and it's been a really fun journey in these last 5 years. Yeah.
Now, when you were in high school and worked as you're a photographer on the newspaper staff, right?
Mm-hmm. And then I became a photo editor of my college paper.
Did you do yearbook?
I did not.
Oh, because I was a yearbook and newspaper photographer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up marrying the editor of our newspaper.
That's awesome.
Just a little bit of that. Now, also, I understand you're doing some training and teaching out there.
I am. I have a course up on lynda.com right now, and it is geared towards beginners and hobbyists who are learning to really take better images of their kids at play in the park. So trying to use challenging lighting situations and correct for them. No matter what camera you have, you can just change the direction of your lighting, and just with a few cute little things, you are able to create much stronger images. So just trying to help elevate people's personal photography.
That's excellent.
Go ahead, Brian.
I just want to say, not getting paid for this, not promoting. I am just a huge fan of lynda.com. Go ahead.
No, I agree with you. Lynda.com is awesome, and I actually saw your course, Erica, and I wanted to ask you about it. Not necessarily what the people see, but from your perspective, because I mean, you were working with, it seemed like the kids were 2 years old or something like that.
Yeah, I had a 2-year-old and an 8-month-old.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously there's some editing work involved to put out the final video, but what challenges did you have creating this video? Because it looks great, but I'm sure there's some stuff in there that we don't get to see.
Well, the lighting was really harsh. It was midday sun. I think we met about 10 a.m. in a park in California, and so there's most likely you're not going to get an overcast day. And it was funny because the video producers did an excellent job. I mean, they did such great work, because for a photographer, we're able to change directions and just do the different tips in the video to get outstanding images. They were shooting wide, and they were shooting me shooting, so they were even more limited than I am. So their skill as directors and producers and video camera guys was incredible because I really gave them a harsh situation to shoot in, and they excelled. So I think that the biggest challenge was trying to capture the situation and get those great images, and it was their struggle because for me, I can easily move around and focus in on what I want, but they had to do the whole scene overall. So yeah, that was one of the big challenges. So the kids were awesome. They were really enthusiastic and eager, and they were excited, and they weren't intimidated by the cameras. So in that sense, it was a fun shoot.
Nice. Yeah, I remember one of the things that I personally learned on your course is how to photograph kids when they're in the swing. I was like, oh yeah, that's such a great idea. And I won't say what it is, but you have to go watch the video at lynda.com. That's going to be my little piece for people.
Yeah, there's a few little tips there. It's a challenge, but it's fun, and hopefully one of them will help somebody.
It helped me. Well, I don't have any kids yet, but for when I do. Also, I just want to let people know that I met you in person at Photoshop World, and actually, Mike.
Oh, it was so much fun.
Yeah, it was awesome. Photoshop World last year in, I forget what month, August, I think it was.
Yes, it was August.
Yeah, and at the time, you were telling me that your goal, and we were talking about this last night actually, that your goal was to become a lynda.com instructor, and here you are, not even a year later, and you made it. So congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, it was fun. I was just in the preliminary talks when we had met there, and my goal to go to Photoshop World was to just really kind of connect more with everybody, and for me to pick up some new techniques. And the instructors there were so incredible, and I was really impressed with the quality of education that there was at Photoshop World. So it, I think, pushed my photography to a new level and made me think about things in a different way. Because post-processing really does make a huge difference in the overall feel and quality of the images. So yeah.
So one of the things that I wanted to bring up is you and I were sitting at a beverage place, we'll call it. We were drinking grape juice, I think it was, and you were talking about your Google Plus or your Google Plus, right? That's what they call it. Your Google Plus presence. You're really big in Google Plus. You have 500,000 subscribers or something like that, or maybe more.
Some bazillion number of views, some billion something, like 2 or 3 billion views on my photos.
Yeah,
it's pretty insane. It was. What basically I've decided, and in the last 5 years, is that I'm going to try and develop myself in my business and who I am shooting what I want to shoot. I'm not taking on a ton of portrait clients. I'm not trying to be a person who does a lot of family sessions back to back or weddings every weekend. My goal as a photographer was to document life and to just kind of tell my family story and encourage other people to tell their family stories as well. I think that professional photography is an absolute needed thing. I think it's a wonderful tool, but I think that my goal is to encourage people for their own personal lives, to document their family stories, to leave a legacy for everybody. And so I'm kind of trying to dedicate my time and my efforts towards my personal family story and encouraging others to do the same. And so I started doing that and sharing my photos on Google+, and I just really love the photography community there. And I was just encouraged by everybody there to just keep doing what I'm doing, which is fun. And so I was recognized for that, and I was asked if I could submit some images for a gallery showing that Google was doing, and it was on moments that matter. And since that is kind of what my whole career goal is to document those moments that matter, I sent 3 images in that I thought were moments that mattered in our personal family story. And I shared the details as to why all those images were important. And my image was chosen as the kind of like the keynote image almost, and it was up on the wall next to the speaker, and it was a tiny little part on the side of it was featured online on the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal digital edition. So that was awesome to say. This picture right here was in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. So it was a fun experience, but it kind of just reinforced the idea that that documenting your family story and telling that and saving that for your family is an important thing to do. So that's kind of where my focus has been, and Google Plus has helped me spread that word and to share. So yeah.
So is it you? Do you have kind of a target audience in a sense? Is it? I get the sense and feeling that perhaps it's mostly women because I know in the photo industry we always in praise touted the women as the family historian, the one who always is taking the photos of the children, of the kids, the events. Do you see that as a strong niche for your kind of work and tutorials and classes?
In some ways, but what I find is that I have a pretty strong grasp of the technical, and so, and this is gonna, I don't know how to say this the right way. I think I am very gender neutral. I think that the number of messages I get from people personally is a split 50-50 amongst men and women, but a lot of them are people like my father who are the family historians. So I think that there's equal number of men and women who really want to document their family story, and I'm finding that I seem to have the niche of people who want to get technically better and just have a few little hiccups along the way and have specific questions. And so those are the kinds of emails and questions I get. And it hasn't been skewed towards female or male. It's been, yeah, so it's been interesting. I think it's more, it is more the person who wants to be the family storyteller. And I have found that that's, both men and women.
Yeah, I would agree actually, because just thinking about my own family, at least me and my wife, I'm definitely the family historian. Then I look at my parents, and I'm the family historian. So from just personal experience, I would say that I've seen a 50-50 split as well. So I don't think it's just women.
Yeah, I mean for my family history, it was my grandfather, and then it was my father, and then it's been passed down to me as the holder of the slides, the holder of the family history, and I think just the love of photography has just really kind of translated through the years. And I think that because I had my father doing it as well, I really have enjoyed it since a young age. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
So, Erica, do you have any? Are you doing any speaking engagements yet, or are you not doing much of that yet?
Not doing too much of that. I'm actually going to WPPI on Sunday. I'm flying out.
Oh, nice.
And I'm a blogger at Photo Focus. And so I talk about a lot of the things that we're talking about here, about documenting your family story, just making sure to make those memories, and then some of the technical aspects of photography as well that come along with documenting that story. And so we're doing a photo walk, and we're going to be working on long exposures, and we're going to be working on lots of fun things on the Las Vegas Strip. So that is my next public appearance, I guess you'd say, would be Monday night in Vegas. So I'm looking forward to that.
And you're going to be hanging out with all the right people, I'm sure.
It'll be fun. We're going to have a great time.
It'll be fun. Yeah. Who's going to be presenting there that you're looking forward to seeing?
There are quite a few people who I have, beyond my just my documenting the family story, I have gotten an interest in underwater photography and doing portrait work underwater. And the reason that interests me is because it's incredibly challenging. I feel like sometimes when I've not mastered something, but I've gotten something down really, really well, I get a little bit bored with that, and I want to move on to the next thing. And underwater photography is incredibly challenging. There's so many different issues with light, with movement, with camera sensors, and the post-processing is very difficult. So there is a speaker who is coming to WPPI who is a master at retouching and is also an underwater photographer and a mermaid. So I'm looking forward to seeing, her last name is Shirk, and I think Christina, I think. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what she has to say.
How is she a mermaid?
Christy Shirk. She wears a mermaid tail. And she teaches classes on how to be graceful underwater and how to free dive. And so she is one of the most sought after mermaids in the world. And
so she wears the tail as she shoots her photos?
No, she wears the tail separately when other people are shooting her. But I think it would be amazing to see her wearing the tail and shooting at the same time. I think that would be incredible. I'll have to tell her we got to get a photo of that.
Well, you should start that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so anyway, I'm looking forward to hearing Christy speak, and I'm looking forward to some friends in San Diego who are doing their first classes on finding your ideal client. The Younggrens, Aaron Younggren is speaking, so I'm looking forward to that. And I'm just looking forward to seeing everybody, and I'm actually truly looking forward to going to the expo and seeing what the latest photography gear is. So it's a fun event, but it's my first time going, so I'm hoping it's as awesome as Photoshop World. So we'll see.
You know,
Go ahead, Brandon.
I'm sure as Jesse, why, put a gun to my head. Jesus can contest here is that the biggest thing about these events, going to Photoshop World or going to these other conventions, as it were, is the networking, the meeting with people, the conversations that happen on the floor after the shows, that kind of stuff. And this is where you meet and some of the best people. And if there's somebody out there you admire, somebody you've wanted to always meet, you've seen their work on the internet, and there's opportunities, you will be surprised how easy it is to introduce yourself, get to know them, and have a conversation.
And I've discovered that a lot of times you offer to buy them a drink and tell them that you appreciate them, that it goes a long way. And sometimes you build lasting friendships, like I have with Jesus. So it's fun.
Now,
just one quick thing. You were doing the most awesome thing at Photoshop World, which was you had that little Polaroid camera,
yes.
and you were taking selfies with people, and when you were doing it, and we took one together, I thought, oh man, this is so much better than a business card, because you have that picture with the person. You would take 2 pictures, you would keep one, you would give the other one to the person you took the photo with, and then it's like people are not going to throw that away. They're going to keep it, and it's just so cool. So I thought that was, I don't know if that was by design or just it happened, but it was brilliant.
Yeah. A friend of mine was taking selfies. I said, these are the same size as business cards. So this year I'm actually going to make some stickers and put my contact information on the back. So that way when I go, I can just slap on my stuff. It's like, yep, here's my business card. This is how I roll. Yeah. And so it's a little bit more informal. It's a little bit more fun, and it's memorable. So since we are photographers, using photos as business cards is kind of a fun way to go.
But yeah, and I kept telling people, it's like, oh, did you see like the picture I took with Erica? Like, I just told like 5 people, just so like it's just incredible for networking. So yeah,
it was fun, and what was really great is just some of like Lindsay Adler, one of my idols. I mean, she's just an amazing teacher, and she just adored it so much, and she wanted that camera so bad. I think I sold like 4 or 5 of those cameras for Fuji while we were there, just because it was such a fun way to connect with people.
Yeah.
Getting back to the underwater.
Yes.
What kind of equipment are you using in that particular case?
Well, I was back in the day, right when I started back in photography. I kind of had the tagline in photography forums as the rebel with a rebel. The reason I said that is because a lot of forums are very gear-centric. Very much like you cannot get the image unless you spend $2,000 or $3,000 on this really high-end gear, and you're not going to be nearly as good unless you buy that 1.2 lens. You're not going to be really as good as you don't buy the latest, full-frame camera that's $2,000 or $3,000, and that's just not true. And so trying to dispel the myth that you have to have the most expensive gear to take good photos is something that I really stand behind. So actually just yesterday, I was using my Canon 6D, which is the cheapest full-frame camera that Canon makes in the current line. I used to have the 5D Mark III, but I switched down to the 6D. And I had it in a bag with a 1.4 35 millimeter, which is one of Canon's sharpest lenses. And I had it in an Iwa Marine bag. And the Iwa Marine bag is about a $300 bag that you can submerge your camera in. It keeps it safe. It's got a glass front. And so you are able to get your high-end DSLR underwater for about $300. But I also have a little Sony a6000. I think it was the #1 selling camera last year. They run about $600 to $800 depending on the sales right now, and they have underwater hard cases for those that are about $200 to $250. So I'm still kind of the rebel with the rebel. I really like to keep my gear accessible. I like to keep it cheaper. I just can't justify spending $3,000 on an underwater housing plus $3,000 on a camera. And I don't want to have a $10,000 underwater rig. I want to have a sub $1,000 rig, and I want to produce work as good as the people who have the $10,000 gear. I think for a couple of reasons. Number one, because I'm cheap, but number two, because I want other people to feel like they could do the same. I want to feel like I don't want my work to be inaccessible to someone else who wants to try and replicate it or try and work on doing something similar.
And why did you change from the 5D Mark III?
Because I'm considering switching to Sony as my full frame. I'm switching to mirrorless completely, and I didn't want to give up all of my Canon glass yet, so I knew I wanted to keep a full frame Canon camera, and so it was an amazing opportunity to switch down a little bit and still have an amazing sensor, something that can do low light incredibly well. And since I don't shoot sports, I didn't need that many focus points, and so it's an adjustment going down to the 60. And I love the 5D Mark III. It was like a glove, but the 60 is an amazing camera, and I made about $1,000 on the trade down.
Oh, well, there you go.
So so that's fine. So I can still get the job done. And so so it was an economical decision, so that way I could afford to upgrade and run dual system between Sony and Canon.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, just to say, so I was going to say that a lot of my underwater work is all done with a crop sensor camera with a kit lens on the little Sony a6000, and I'm just really happy with the quality. So yesterday when I was shooting, I was using the full frame Canon, and I was using the Sony, and I ended up liking the images from the Sony better, and they were just as sharp, just as clear, and they're good.
Now, you must keep your pool warm.
We live in San Diego, so the last week and a half, 2 weeks, it's been about 80 degrees outside. So our solar's been running. So the pool was up to 72, 73 yesterday.
Okay. Solar, because my pool is sitting at like 69 right now.
Yeah, you can still go in for that for a few minutes.
Yeah.
You can get some great shots of you underwater with your beard, with all little droplets of water.
Yeah, sure. I actually prefer the jacuzzi side of the pool.
Yeah, that's a good side.
Some underwater jacuzzi shots.
Yep. Oh, I've done that before. You have to be really careful with those bags. They melt.
Really?
Oh, no.
Wow.
Yep, so lesson learned. So I'm really careful about taking my camera underwater in the jacuzzis now. I don't trust the seals or the flags or the plastics when they're heated.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I can see it expanding different ways and getting leaks and stuff, yeah.
Yep, and getting soft. The plastic gets soft.
Well, that's how I lost the phone, actually. I have had a Sony Xperia underwater phone, and because of going into jacuzzi and hot water, it damaged the seals, therefore damaged the phone. So
Yes. So that's a tip that you've got to really be careful in the warm waters with the underwater bags and underwater equipment.
Yeah.
That's interesting, Jesus. I don't think you've published any of those jacuzzi pictures.
Well, that was in Vegas, and I don't publish any Vegas pictures unless it's Photoshop Pro related.
So, what courses? I think we talked about this, but I just want to clarify. What courses have you taught in lynda.com? It was
lynda.com. It's just the children's photography one, and then I've got another one in the works. So when that comes out, I'll let you know.
And that one will be awesome.
It'll
be fun. It's a wonderful experience, and I love working for them. But I like the fact that the producers are helping me follow that passion of documenting the family story and helping people do that with their own families and preserving those memories. It's good.
So do you have any, for our listeners, again, who are shooting families, documenting, doing the historian? I mean, history is kind of the documentation, but they also have strong interest in taking beautiful photographs of their family and children and that. Do you have any easy kind of upfront tips?
Well, the same stuff that everybody talks about making sure to find the right light before you start shooting. I think that one of my favorite tips is family, a lot of times if you're a real strong hobbyist photographer, your families get annoyed with you and they don't like you shooting. They get really tired of you having the camera always up to your face and not interacting with them. So there's two things that I do. I set up an activity for the kids that I want to document, like you maybe call it dyeing Easter eggs. I make sure that we put it in a position where the light is good, and I let them have fun doing a project. And so when they're engaged in an activity, me taking photos doesn't seem to be quite as annoying. It also provides an opportunity to tell a story of the process of dyeing the Easter eggs. And plus they get so excited to share with you what they've created. And so they eagerly come to you with the camera in hand because they also want to document their work. So I think that having a project, either cookie baking or lemonade making or dyeing Easter eggs or something like that, telling part of the story of the day is a great tool. Another thing is if you're at a birthday party or a family event, I have a rule that I like to follow of 5 minutes up for my camera. I'm taking pictures for 5 minutes, 30 minutes down. 5 minutes up, 30 minutes down. So that way I'm still telling the story of the day, but I'm engaged as a parent and as a family friend and as a family member, and my camera doesn't become a burden to communication with me and for me to be a participant in the event in the day.
Now, does any of that change just a little bit when you're doing it for a client?
Oh yeah, a client's a totally different thing.
Yeah, okay.
But when you're, for a client, it's you just find the great light. You want to find an activity that they really love. You want to find something that has meaning to them, and you kind of you try and find it either at sunset or at sunrise, just depending on the situation and the environment. But I think that making sure that they're comfortable is key, and I think you always have to have a warm-up period about 15 minutes before you really can start to get some good stuff.
I was hoping that you would say that for a client you only shot for 5 minutes and that was it.
I had a project 2 weeks ago, and that's what happened. I knew I had a very specific picture I needed to take for each person, and it was 10 frames per person, and it took less than 5 minutes just because I had worked out the location, I had worked out the idea in what they were looking for, and so I was able to capture each of them in a few frames. I'm like, well, we got it, we're done, and
Nice.
and it worked out. But I wouldn't do that if there wasn't a specific project, that I knew what the resulting images were for. If it was for a gallery of images for the client to pick, not for me, then I'd definitely shoot longer, even past the I got the image point.
I don't think I've ever asked you, but do your kids have any interest in photography? Do they ever play with the camera or Lightroom, Photoshop, anything like that?
Oh, they do. I mean, I had to get a second Wacom tablet because mine kept getting stolen from my kids. So, and so we have Photoshop running on two machines because what's great is the license allows you to have Photoshop on two machines. I think now I have it installed on 3 or 4, and then we have to log on and log out, to get it to run again because my children have such a strong interest. So they've been doing a lot more digital art with Photoshop. My daughter was the school historian last year, so she was doing a lot of photography through that. And it's fun to watch her edit because even though she has the camera on auto or has it on aperture priority or something like that, getting in and seeing how watching me edit has changed how she edits. It's been fantastic. She knows how to do white balance. She knows how to get an image that has the right amount of contrast, and it's good. It's really amazing to watch these little kids develop an eye for what looks good and run with it.
And how old are your children?
8, 10, and 12.
8, 10, and 12.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's early. Hey, Sus, just for you in the future here, if your children get into photography and as they get a little bit older than that, again, what you'll find is your equipment starts disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
You'll start looking for a flash or a reflector or something, and it's gone. Where did it go? And sure enough, one of the kids has it somewhere.
Yeah, I had to chain my Wacom pen using some stretchy string onto the cord for my tablet so that it wouldn't wander off.
Yes.
So, it's like, because those are expensive and tiny, so you definitely don't want to lose those. But gear-wise, I absolutely let my kids use my old Rebels. They absolutely love to play with studio stuff. So if I set up a studio, they'll sit there and shoot too. It's fun, and I kind of let them. I let them have fun with it. I don't mind them using my high-end gear. They're careful enough, and we've only had one problem when my daughter was, I think my oldest daughter was 5, and I let her borrow my little point and shoot, and she set it up on a little tripod, and they were making movies in the playroom, and they walked out of the room with the camera still running, and my 1.5 to 2-year-old daughter went and took the camera and started banging the lens into the table and busted it. Now, what's really funny is we have the video documenting
Yes. Yes.
exactly the moment she broke the camera. So, I mean, I don't think I'd give, you know, a 5-year-old or a 2-year-old, you know, a high-end camera, but at the same time, it was a humorous story, and, you know, it was, you know, $40-50 lost, you know, but it was a good lesson.
At that point, do they try to lie and say it was your sister or something, or you're like, nope, I got you on video?
We got the video. It's like they just kind of laugh, like, well.
My daughter is 25 now currently, but at the time I think she was maybe 8 or 9, and she had one of my point and shoots, and she was taking pictures of her friends in the backyard. Well, she left the camera in the backyard. Mm-hmm. So that evening went out to the jacuzzi, which I normally do in an evening, and as I'm sitting there, all of a sudden I saw a flash. And I would look around and wondering, was that lightning? What was that? And then I saw another flash. I didn't know what it was. And I thought, well, who is taking pictures of me and my big butt out in the jacuzzi here or something? And the next day, we found the camera in the backyard. The dog was chewing on the camera.
Funny.
And the flash, and it kept shooting as it was chewing on the camera. Destroyed it. Yeah, the kids will, you know, you kind of want to get them their own, like you said, little point and shoot. Also, just as a side note, I had a wonderful opportunity many years ago to meet with Eleanor Caponegro, John Caponegro's ex-wife at the time. And she said she was involved with a wonderful project with Polaroid where they took Polaroids in to kindergartners.
Oh, fun.
Showed them how to use the camera and just let them go free and take pictures. And they were some of the most amazing pictures because they weren't bogged down.
Yep.
They weren't bogged down with all the, you know, technical stuff we worry about. They just, you know, this is a picture of their friend, you know, on the slide.
Yep.
Or they were just beautiful.
What I found is, like, I love the perspective. When you hand a 4-year-old a camera, they take pictures of the things they love, like the piano keys, like their toy from their perspective. And it's hilarious, too, because I've let my daughter loose at a wedding with a little rebel, and she's taking pictures of the guests. And the smiles you get from adults when a child is pointing a camera at them, you know, and they're looking up. So you get these pictures of them, these adults looking down at them. But they have the most genuine, goofy smiles on their faces. And it just makes for some really interesting images because you see the world through their eyes in a way that you couldn't do otherwise. So I highly recommend, you know, making sure they don't drop it, and supervise, but let the kids have the cameras. Let them explore and see the world through their eyes, because I think you'll be surprised by how much joy they can capture.
Well, at first you guys were convincing me not to have children, but that story was really cute, so I'm back on the children wagon.
Oh.
Wait a minute, maybe I can take this into my son's room and I'll switch you back again.
No, okay. No. You have birds, I hear, Erica. Are those birds in the background?
Oh, yes. My daughter convinced me to buy a parakeet, so we've got a parakeet in the other room. I'm sorry about the noise on the...
No, a little side story here. One of my biggest pet peeves is when I go into somebody's home and I hear the fire detector go off when it's running low on batteries, and I was like, oh, no, Erica, you're not one of those people.
Oh, no.
And then I was like, oh, birds. Okay, good.
Yep.
Jesus, is this a big problem? I mean, do you carry around a pack of,
you know what,
AA batteries, or?
I'm gonna have to put my family on blast here, but you know, they're my family. I love them, so whatever. When I first met my now wife Michelle, and I went around introducing her to all my relatives. You know, we drove down to Southern California and Palm Springs. I have a lot of family all over California, and we would just drive to different places and meet people. And I told her, just every house we go to, you're gonna hear this chirp that I hate so much. And sure enough, we went to 6 different homes, and they all had it. And then I would point it out, and people would be like, "What are you talking about? We hear nothing." I'm like, "Can't you hear it?" You know, like I'm going crazy. So
Wow.
yes, that's the family I come from. So now it's a big pet peeve of mine. So yeah, I do go into homes, and if I hear it, I will go out and buy batteries. Like that's how crazy I am about that.
Well, I spent, when I was a child, we would go out camping on an island up in the North San Juans, and to take photos, basically. My dad was really interested in photography, so we'd go out to this island, and there was a lighthouse, and it had the horn blowing like every 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But it goes 24 hours a day, and we camped right under that. It's amazing how you can tune those things out. And bringing it back to photography, I think that we often do that with our own images when we're looking at them. We have the same common element, and it takes a fresh perspective and a fresh eye, like you did coming into a room going, "Hey, did you notice that? Doesn't that drive you crazy?" And I think that sometimes having somebody, come into your life fresh helps point out those flaws in our hearing or our photography.
And no, that's a very good way of bringing it back to photography and just in Photoshop design in general. One of the things I usually tell people is when you're working on something, step away for an hour, half an hour, whatever it is, come back and look at it. Also, if you're looking at especially if you're working on something digital like Photoshop, it's a good idea to rotate the canvas, like flip it horizontally, flip it vertically, and see if because it's crazy. You're looking at something, it looks great. You flip it horizontally, and then you just see all these errors and mistakes that you didn't see before. Flip it vertically, rotate it, just look at it in many different ways. And even though it's the same image, you just see things that weren't there before just because you're getting a new perspective on it. So that was a good way of bringing it back.
That's absolutely true. And I can think of the many times I've worked on images and projects and stuff, and it's gone to print. Fortunately, it's not 4-color press like 1,000 run. It goes to make perhaps a 30 by 40 print or something, and somebody walks up and they point at something in the image that's just blatantly should have been retouched out or whatever, and it's like, oh, I never saw it. I stared at that thing for about an hour working on it.
One of my worst mistakes ever was something like that. I was designing it was like an advertising piece for somebody, and I don't remember the dimensions, 4x6 or whatever it was. It was like a postcard size, and I was it was a composite, but then I didn't quite mask an area right, and I didn't notice until I got the print. And I remember just as soon as I picked it up and looked at the print, I was like, oh my god! It was kind of like one of those Photoshop fail things you see on Facebook with like the red circle showing that there's like an extra hand or something. It was something like that. I was like, oh my god! So like ever since that day, I'm always freaked out before I print something out, just because of that emotion that you get when you're like, oh my god, we got thousands of prints and there's nothing I can do about it.
I feel that way when I submit images for contests. So, and then I look at them later and go, oh no, if I just would have cloned that better. Oh no, I missed this. And it just kills me. And I'm just hoping that the judges are looking so fast that they don't notice. But no, I think it's an emotion we all feel with our stuff. And I think that time and taking a break, and then also having a fresh set of eyes, I think that is a great way to help with that.
So, Erica, if somebody wants to follow you, let's get a list of some of these things. Obviously, we've mentioned lynda.com, that they have some training and video up there. You also mentioned Photo Focus, a blog?
I'm a writer for Photo Focus, and so I'm really enjoying it. I love the camaraderie, and I love the type of articles that I'm reading more now because of them. I find that I can explore areas of photography I hadn't thought of by reading the Photo Focus blog, and being a member of it and a writer has really been a huge benefit. So so I'm a writer for Photo Focus, and I'm more a reader than even a writer. I'm liking that, and I've done some stuff with Wacom. I think I have a few little more. I did a little tiny thing with Wacom, but I did some stuff with MacFun software, and I really like their products as well. And I just you can find me basically almost anywhere because I am the only Erica Thornes in the world, so I can't be hidden very easily. So I'm
So
on Google.
I'm gonna put just Google.
Just Google me. It's with a K, Erica with a K. But yeah, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Linda. I'm on Photo Focus. I'm pretty easy to track down, and I am not inundated enough. I actually respond to emails, so I get a few. It's been fun. So I love helping people out with their journeys, and I don't mind steering people in the right direction. And I hope that my workload never gets too big that I can't give people the personal attention, sending them to the right, to the right resource.
Sure.
I'm sorry to break it to you. You're going to get there.
I'm loving it right now, though. I'm really loving the fact that I can just help people when they come. So if you have a question, you're welcome to reach out.
Good, excellent. Jesus, do you have any burning question that has not been asked?
No, not really. I just want to ask Eric if there's anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted to mention, any upcoming projects, anything that we should be on the lookout for, or just anything you want to say.
Nope, just feel free to message me and just document your family story. And I hope that I motivated you, even if your photography isn't perfect, just to really give it a shot and bring that camera out and use it.
Yeah, and be on the lookout for the next lynda.com course. I may or may have not looked at the outlines, and I may or may not know that it's great.
Very good. Now, I did think of one that crossed my mind. What is your take on families and people that are using things like only their smartphones to take their family photos or portraits or selfies?
Be careful. It's better than nothing. Be careful. I just had a friend yesterday who was showing me her iPhone and showing me all the different photos on it. And I said, oh, so where are you backing those up? And she said, well, I'm not. My iCloud's full. And I was just like, oh, sweetie, we got to change that. And so I immediately helped her download the Google Photos app so that they are all uploaded to the Google Drive and the Google Cloud because they have unlimited storage of JPEGs. And I just want to make sure that if you are using your cell phone, that you are finding a backup method. So in case your cell phone ends up crashed in the hot tub, melted, that you have another place for those photos. So my key is backup if you are using your cell phone, and print. So backup and print. Even it doesn't matter what camera you're using. As I said, I'm the rebel with the rebel, but make sure that you keep those family memories precious and safe. That's good. I think that was a great tip. That's a great tip. All right, Erica. Is that, once again, anything? Nope, that's great. I'm looking. Yep. I want to thank you so much for joining us. Really enjoyed the conversation and look forward to new topics coming up on lynda.com that Jesus may know or may not know what it is. And we're going to put this information on how to contact you in the podcast notes so that expect people to be coming and asking you some questions. Jesus, thank you so much for putting up with me. For putting up with me, and I'm going to put Post-its and stickies all around my laptop with your name on it. They're
going to think you're a religious fanatic.
They might, but those who know me will go, nah. No. So, again, I want to thank our audience for listening, tuning in, subscribing to the show. We appreciate that very much. You can go to iTunes and you can subscribe, and the podcast will automatically download to whatever you're using as your quote like podcatcher, whether it's your desktop computer, laptop, whether it's your smartphone or tablet. And again, the great thing about podcast is you can listen to it at any time. If you're taking a walk, if you're going to the gym, or if you're just sitting out there in the jacuzzi, you can always listen to a show. And that should do it for this show. And listen, take a picture. It'll last longer.